Okay, just to go to the other extreme really, you also need to know the adaptations of hydrophytes. Now obviously hydro means water, so these are plants that are adapted to live on or in water. So probably the most famous example of this is the water lily. And if you think about a water lily, I'm no Monet, I'd just like to say, you've got the surface of the water. Your water lily leaf, I'll do one with a bit of an edge, is kind of there at the top. And then some of them have roots or anchoring points, sort of stems down here to their roots. So this presents a particular set of problems because obviously your light for photosynthesis is coming in from the top. So you need to be sure that you can be on the top of the water to get that light. So these plants are particularly buoyant. Their leaves are buoyant. So although their leaf might emerge from down here in the lake, from its sort of growing point, they need to, when they get up to the surface, they need to be able to stay there. And so they have very large air spaces. And this is a fabulous word. And those that tissue is called parenchyma. Oh, what a word. It doesn't really matter how you pronounce it. And most plant things, you know, you've got parenchyma. And perfectly, some people pronounce it chyma, parenchyma, parenchyma. That's fine. I tend to pronounce the CHK because that's how it's pronounced in ancient Greek. There we go. So, very large air spaces. Now the other advantage of having air spaces is that if they're very large, you've also got rapid diffusion of gases. And if you think about the bits of the plant that are underwater, they're going to need, they're not photosynthesizing, they're going to need oxygen. So you've also got rapid diffusion of, well, you know, I'm going to put gases because they need to get rid of carbon dioxide as well, to roots or underwater parts. The other big feature of hydrophytes is, of course, they can't get, you know, usually stomata are on the lower side of the leaf, but this lower side of the leaf is in contact with water. And what do we know about water? You know, it's high surface tension and gases dissolve slowly through it and it doesn't have much gas in it anyway. So the most obvious place, the bit that's in contact with the air, where they're going to get their gases for diffusion, is on the top of the leaf. So they tend to have stomata on the upper surface and remember, of course, that CO2 is going to go in during the day and oxygen out and into the atmosphere. So because these plants are so very buoyant and because they don't have much problem with water availability because they're living in water, they have reduced xylem because they, you know, just absorb the water, and they have less strengthening tissue. And that's just because the water supports the plant. And that kind of wraps it up for hydrophytes. You do need to be able to recognise a hydrophyte, look for those very large air spaces, and you do need to explain sort of what, the adaptations. So enjoy learning.